Can we talk about grief for a minute? I want to know what part of you in your life do you grieve after a diagnosis or an awareness? For some people, it could be you grieve the career that you once had, that you no longer had. You grieve the support that you didn't get as a kid, that you now know you so desperately needed. You grieve that relationship, that person that you loved so much. Oh, you wanted it to work so bad, but it just never would have worked because you were just wired differently. They wanted something and you didn't have the capacity to give it, even though you broke yourself to try. You lived a miserable, dysregulated life. What part of you do you grieve and what part of you do you forgive? What age were you when you were first misdiagnosed? Like the first time you went in or your parents took you in for a mental health wellness check. What age were you when they first misdiagnosed you with something? Were you under 18? Were you between 19 and 30, 30 and 40, 40 and up? And what was it that you were misdiagnosed with first? So what age were you and what was your first misdiagnosis? Most of the time I hear anxiety or depression or bipolar, just stressed, just need to take a break, or a combination of all the above. So tell me below, what was yours and what age were you? Can we talk about high functioning really quick, that term? Now, there's a lot of controversy around that term, but when I first became aware of my autism, I didn't know any other way to describe it. Like literally, it was my way of coping with how did I miss this? So when that term was first introduced to me, it helped me make sense of things. I later evolved and started using the term high masking because that's actually what concealed my diagnosis for so long, was the masking part, not the functioning part, because I was masking my dysfunction, for lack of a better phrase. And also high functioning does not mean high capacity. So people always say, oh, she's a very high functioning autistic person, but they're very smart. They always follow it up with that, but they're very smart. Well, high functioning does not necessarily mean high capacity. You could still have a very autistic child or autistic person that is able to excel at many, many things. But their brain, the way their brain is wired, they still have a neurological challenge. They still may have lots of sensory issues. They still may have executive, functioning challenges. They still may have, dyslexia, because that's a neurodivergent trait that people often overlook. But a lot of autistic people displayed that very early on as a child, but it's overlooked. So they still may have all of these other things, even if they're high functioning, because high functioning does not mean higher capacity. It just means that their coping skills, they're able to adapt to things and mask a lot better than someone else who is not high masking. Or there's levels. I hear level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, all these levels, and people get mixed up in them. But I typically just like to go with autistic, because I feel like embracing the term that I'm autistic, he's autistic, she's autistic, we're all autistic, is actually a more accurate representation of the many faces of autism. Autism does not look the same. And the more we show faces like mine that are autistic, and faces like my son's that at one point was minimal verbal and now he's 6 and he has more language. Well, he was reading when he was like 2.5, 3, or the child that is nonverbal but is a freaking mathematician or an engineer, the kid that, Ricky too, that is over at FAMU right now, my little internet nephew, the more we show all the different faces of autism, then the more we debunk the myth of what autism looks like. Autism doesn't have a particular look. We're all wired differently, literally.